before my mission, when I was preparing for it, after I got my call, I learned I was being called to Monterrey. So I looked it up on Wikipedia, what Monterrey was like. And it said that Monterrey, it said a lot of things, but one of the things that stood out in my mind was that it had a lot of mountains. And when I arrived in Monterrey, I remember not being able to see any mountains and thinking it was very odd because that was the one thing that Wikipedia said specifically there was in Monterrey. Anyway, the next day I woke up and I saw mountains everywhere, and I was like, what the heck? And it turns out there was so much smog the previous day that I could not see the mountains. So I thought that was pretty funny. Some things that I noticed, some more positive things, I guess, about Mexico is that people are very open and like they're willing to talk to you on the street, and like people are shouting at you in nice ways, like saying hello and just asking you questions. And people in Mexico are very open. That's one of the first things I noticed. And some cultural differences. Mexico is a lot different than America. Like, you know, there's street vendors everywhere. Just the houses are different. They're made out of cement blocks. So that was interesting. Just it had a different aesthetic. I lived in Missouri before my mission, so the temperatures and the weather was a lot different. It's very hot in Mexico, or it was when I arrived. I remember also feeling, I mean, I think every missionary will go through this, whether it's a foreign country or whether it's just, you know, somewhere really close to home, is you feel pretty like a stranger a lot. You spent several weeks in the MTC, and now you're a different person with a name tag and a different calling and a different purpose in life. So you feel separated from everybody else by that. And in Mexico also by the culture and the language. And you feel nervous, but also very anxious your first day. Like, you feel nervous because you're out of place and you're not exactly quite sure what's going on, but also anxious because you're very excited to get to start to know it and to start the work. After all the sort of orientation stuff, the mission president talked to us, the mission president's wife talked to us. We had our first experience. The assistants took us out in the streets nearby the office, and we started doing street contacts and knocking on doors. And that was very nerve-wracking because I didn't know any Spanish really. And so they made me do a couple street contacts regardless and knock on a few doors. So I sort of mumbled a little bit and tried my best to greet people, and it was very awkward. And I think some people politely laughed at me, but it was definitely a unique experience. But, well, to say the least, exciting. So in my mission, there was a temple. There is a temple, the Monterrey temple. The mission boundaries have been changed a little bit since I left the mission. It's now, I think my mission now pertains to the Saltillo mission. So I'm not exactly sure, but I remember we did have a temple, which was nice. We'd get to go once a month to visit that. Usually half of our mission was very far away from the temple, so half of it didn't get to go, but the other half went monthly. So I'd say about, like, I went to the temple about 10 to 12 times. I can't remember exactly how many. In my mission, at any one time, there's about 200 missionaries. And I mean, they're getting transferred in and out, so that number varies. It's about half American missionaries and half, almost half Latino missionaries, maybe a little bit more. And most of the Latino missionaries are Mexicans. So it's nice because usually you get paired up within your first couple transfers with a native companion to help you learn the culture and language. During my time in Mexico, they didn't really send American sister missionaries to our mission because it's a little bit dangerous sometimes. I mean, that sounds odd, but honestly, just by merit of being an American sister, you were in more danger. However, I think they are sending sister missionaries a lot more to Mexico now because I guess things are better or safer, or maybe they have just different safety precautions. And honestly, I feel bad, but I never got to know the sister missionaries too well in Mexico. There were a lot of South American sisters there, so I just didn't get to know them because, we sort of were focusing on our own work, and I just didn't have a lot of opportunity to get to know them. So I don't have too much advice. However, I would say with the few experiences I had with them and when I did interact with them, honestly, they seemed more spiritual and more devout to the work than a lot of other people did. And I respected them a lot. They definitely added a lot to our mission.